Welcome back. Even if you haven't heard his music, chances are you've heard his legend. Robert Johnson, the Delta-born bluesman, is said to have sold his soul to the devil to master the music that would change the world. At least that's how the story goes. Is there actual power in Crossroads' contract? This Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad finds out.
Look at the numbers on this sign and find out just how far you are from Clarksdale. The Crossroads, the meeting of Highway 61 and Highway 49. On its corners, you've got the Beer and Bud Mart, H-Town Custom Wheels. This corner is shared by Abe's Barbecue and Delta Donut. And the last corner, well, we'll get to that. But it's where I met
Roosevelt Jackie Robinson Jr.
He's not famous, but he's got a famous name. You see, his grandpa was a baseball fan.
And he put them two names together and called my dad Jackie Roosevelt Robinson. And by me being my dad's first son, my dad named me Roosevelt Jackie Robinson Jr.
And Jack, well, he knows a thing or two about Robert Johnson. The musician died before most people around here were born, but everybody knows.
It sold his soul to the devil. I mean, really.
Really? It couldn't have been that Johnson was just a natural, taking his feelings of living in the Delta during the Great Depression and transforming them into blues perfection? That devil story, though, it's mysterious and something that perhaps can be tested. But I'm no attorney. I don't know much about contract law, but I do know how to print off a free template of a contract from online. All right, let's take a look. This is a contract entered into by the provider, that would be the devil, and the client, me, Jacob Kittilstad. The provider's place of business is HE double hockey stick. Services to be rendered by the provider, fame, fortune, talent, yada, yada, yada. Payment for services rendered by the provider, of course, my soul. All right, looks like it's pretty complete. Let's see if we get any bites. Not seeing anything. We're looking for the devil. This is the place, right? Maybe it's too wet. Nothing. And the Reverend Joel Chapman says there's probably a reason for that.
Oh, a lot of, I would hate to use the word junk because junk is what it would be. The stuff that's not biblically based, we try to stay away from that because the Bible is an undisputed fact. It is better to trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man. It has no loopholes, no hinges or nothing. It hangs on the truth. As far as we know, it's folklore. It's just a story that was made up, was catchy.
But the legends persist, maybe somewhat out of town pride.
Really, when we was coming up as kids, we didn't realize what the word special really meant. But we had all this heritage, you know what I'm saying? Because all the greats, right here, born right here, raised in Clarksdale.
And thankfully, Mr. Robinson, the man I met, does not appear to be the devil. I mean, I don't think the devil would like going into any type of churches, and that's what's on the final corner of the Crossroads. Exploring the unexplained this Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
Thank you, Jacob. Robert Johnson died on August 16, 1938 in Greenwood, Mississippi. He was only 27 years old. His short life adding to a fame coupled with mysteriousness.
And welcome back, everyone. They say dogs are man's best friend, but not always. In fact, for more than 150 years, stories of a phantom canine have gnawed on the imaginations of folks living in the tiny community known as Redbone. But could this tail be wagging the dog? Jacob Kittlestad's on the scent this Mystery Monday.
Old Woolly Ridge. It's not only the name of this private drive in Warren County. Old Woolly is also the name of a beast.
And I was a little boy, and they would talk about this big woolly animal that came up and down the hill, what we call Wolf Hill. And Woolly always started at the bottom of the hill and went to the top where he just disappeared. People could shoot at him, nothing penetrated him, nothing could hurt him. He was well, I hardly know what to say there, Jacob, but he was indestructible, I guess you would say.
Gordon Cotton, former curator of the Old Courthouse Museum, followed the story as he grew up. In fact, decades-old, scratchy-sounding tape still can play its interview with a woman who saw the dog about a century after its very first sighting.
Mrs. Eleanor Fryer. She's deceased now, but she grew up on that hill.
She describes the dog as big, black, and so intimidating that it never needed to bark.
Gordon, it was a look like that great big dog, and all you could see was his eyes, just cold black. Yeah, and just you could just see the eyes.
I did a lot of arm twisting to get her to let me record this story and to take her picture.
A picture of old Wooly is even more difficult. Look over here, look over there, wait, is that a glowing eye? Oh, it's just a mailbox. Let's make this easy on ourselves. We're looking for a shaggy dog that doesn't have an owner. Well, this is slightly more civilized than I was expecting.
This is Warlock, and he's a Cocker Spaniel mix, and he's one of our special dogs here at the shelter because he pretty well keeps the front office in line. If we had to pick a color and type dog that's here at the shelter and that stays the longest, would probably be your black lab mixes.
Old Wooly was always described as a brute, messing with horses, but I think Warlock deserves a chance. I mean, check out his resume.
He's proficient at answering the phones. It's for you. He's good at paperwork as well as being paper trained, completely potty trained. He's not very good at wearing office attire, never any pants, but he is quite good at panting. But one thing, of course, that he's exceptional at is lunch.
But like so many dogs, Warlock has failed at finding an owner.
So we couldn't put him back in that kennel he hated, so he stayed in this office, and he's here to stay until he finds his forever home. And he'll love anyone that gets him. Much, yes.
So it's extremely possible that old Willie just got a bad rap, and it was actually the people around him who turned a rascally black dog into a monster of legends.
And it scared little children too. I think my grandmother told me this to make me behave. Old Wooly might get me. But yeah, there are people that I've known that are convinced that they've seen old Wooly, that he was real. And who might argue with them?
Exploring the unexplained this Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
And if you are wondering, yes, Warlock is still available for adoption from Kara. You just drop by and get acquainted yourself with the pup that might as well be old Wooly's great nephew.
Ebola is a sickness that you've been seeing all over the news these days, but go back 70, 80 years and another disease truly had the United States in its grasp. Tuberculosis, TB. It was so serious, the state basically built a city because of it. Confused? Well, let Jacob Kittilstad cure that for you this week's Mystery Monday.
Blowing through on Highway 49, you may have seen these official MDOT signs. Seeing that town name, God knows what you imagine, but workers at what's now Boswell Regional Center say you might not be that far off.
Sanatorium, which was the Mississippi State Tuberculosis Hospital, and it's on the outskirts of the city of McGee. Sanatorium is a community.
First things first, Craig Cottrell says, there's a big difference between a sanatorium and a sanitarium. See this? That's a mental institution. And this one, it was for long-term TB treatment.
It's hard for me to imagine being put in a situation where I was taken away from my wife and children and told that I could not get out of bed for a year.
This is Dr. William Touchstone. I met him at the museum that showcases the sanatorium's past work.
We lived right here on the grounds, and just inside there was the post office. Some of these children came from, as I say, very depraved situations and were very thin and undernourished. One little girl in particular, she was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and honestly, her arms were no bigger than my thumb. She was so thin. And of course, I got a fat thumb too.
That was at the Preventorium, a place that tried to make sure kids didn't get sick. They all had the same rigid schedule, all of them wore the same bloomers, and all of them were away from their families. That's how serious the threat of tuberculosis was.
This is the area where about 25 beds would be. Young boys stayed here when the building was a preventorium. And on the other side, a matching 25 beds for the girls' wing. Now, it's not a preventorium anymore, but remnants still exist of what this building's original purpose was. Check out this window. Now, it opens up exactly like a normal window, but when you peer your head out, you'll find this board. It's actually on a hinge, and underneath it reveals these shutters. Now, these are meant to provide fresh air for the kids who would have been staying here, giving them that proper ventilation they needed.
Basically, the only way that they knew to treat tuberculosis was rest, and there was a saying that said, rest, rest, rest. People got married here. Their lives went on even while they were here.
But when new treatments came out, it would eventually close, along with the preventorium. That was in 1976. Dr. Touchstone says it was the last open facility of its kind in the U.S., and he still remembers it fondly, along with the thought of that thumb-thin little girl.
She was so downcast and depressed, you could not make that child smile, and I always tried to make them smile. And then 6 weeks later, she was tan, had put on weight, was smiling and running and playing with the other children. Just totally different, a great transition, and it was really, it still gets to me.
Exploring the unexplained this Mystery Monday, Jacob Kittilstad, WJTV News Channel 12.
Thank you, Jacob. Before it was sanatorium, historians say the area was just pine forest. But when legislators voted for its creation, it was one of the largest health efforts of the time.
And things were very different back then. We didn't keep any drugs locked up or anything, and we used cocaine elixir as an astringent in doing our bronchoscopies, and we had a shelf where we just kept bottles of alcohol and cocaine and ether and different things there, and we didn't know it, but there was one of the employees who liked to take a little nip out of the bottle of grain alcohol that we had up there, and one day she decided she would take her a little sip of that grain alcohol, and she heard someone coming down the hall on those tile floors, and she got in a hurry and accidentally grabbed the bottle of cocaine elixir and took a pretty good swallow out of that, and she died right there in the hallway.